Hello everybody, everybody's doing great today. Appreciate those of you who watch this video. I hope you enjoy it. And today we're talking about The Naked Gun, starring Leslie Nielsen, the original one. I'm not going to bash the new one or anything like that. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's the only time I'm going to talk about the new one. I'm going to do another video talking about my opinion about the new one. This one's all about the original one. And personally, I think the original one really does age well. A lot of these parodies, they do a lot of jokes that are to that time period. So if you don't live in like the 80s, you don't really get the jokes that they're doing. And this one, it's not like that at all. I mean, there is a couple of them there at the beginning where, they got all these villain world leaders in the room. So if you don't know your history, if you didn't live in that time period, you might be scratching your head about who some of these guys are. But to get the joke, to see how funny it is, you don't really need to know the backstory of those characters, of the villains the actors portraying, because it's still funny because of the action, comedy, the physical comedy of it all. And then you have like the Weird Al joke, and I think Weird Al is still relevant in today's time period. I think a lot of kids still like Weird Al, so they might get that joke as well. And it is appropriate for Weird Al to appear in a movie like The Naked Gun, considering his songs are basically parodies of real songs. But enough of light stuff, so let's get into The Naked Gun. Like I said, I don't think you have to live in that time period to get this movie, to laugh at the jokes. There's a lot of physical comedy going on in this movie, and the jokes are relevant to just that universe that the movie is in. That, like I said before, doesn't really have too many jokes that's going on in the outside world. So, you can be somebody who just landed here from the moon or the Mars and really get this movie very well. What makes this movie great is Leslie Nielsen and his mannerisms, the way he deliver his lines. You got some stupid stuff going on all around him, and he's just deadpanning his lines like he's actually in like a serious drama, like he's actually in a Harry, Dirty Harry type of movie, like a real cop movie that's serious. And that's what gives his lines very funny. I just recently saw it on a YouTube video where he did his montage, but what do you call it? His opening speech there on Saturday Night Live. Vocabulary off the window there. And and he's talking about, I'm not really a comedian, I just somebody who says serious stuff and people laugh about it. Basically paraphrasing what he said. And it's basically what this movie is. He's just saying stuff that you and I would say in this chaotic world. And it's just humorous. Priscilla Presley, the love interest in this one too. She's very good in this one, and I think that's what makes this movie very, very good, is this, how everybody's acting in it. They're in a comedy, but they're not acting like they're in a comedy. Only one that really kind of goes overboard, I guess you could say, is the O.J. Simpson character, but that's because he's getting beat up the whole movie, which is hilarious. Not because, the real life stuff, but just, everything that happens to him is very over the top, funny, and basically what things that happen to O.J. Simpson is probably like the most extreme things that go on in this movie. Now that I say that, I do remember the ending where the guy gets ran over by by one of those street roller things. He gets crushed, kind of like Christopher Lloyd's character in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. But he is dead. Like he's not getting up from that. So you do have some over the top stuff, but it's still hilarious. I got some great jokes. They're coming in here. I don't really want to talk too much about the jokes that are in here, but you do got some cameos. You got Reggie Jackson. I think Reggie Jackson does have one speaking line. Something like "I must kill the Queen," but he's pretty much Reggie Jackson. The whole Empire. At the end where he's dressed up like the Empire, calling balls and strikes. Sometimes, if you're a baseball fan, doesn't it feel like the Empires are like the Leslie Nielsen character in this one, where they call like ridiculous strikes and stuff, so they get a little cheer from the home crowd? Like, to kind of playing, you don't want to get booed by the home crowd. Sometimes it feels that way when you're watching it on TV, or if you go to the ball game, but the home crowd might get a little bit more calls than the visiting team. In this case, it's Leslie Nielsen. He doesn't really know what he's doing. He calls a strike. Everybody cheers, and then he's calling strikes before the pitcher even throws the pitch. You get stuff like that. But overall, the Naked Gun is hilarious. You got jokes after jokes. If one doesn't land with you, you know, another one will. I guess there are, going back to like the time period jokes, you know, you do have like the safe sex jokes with the condom. This time period, you know, AIDS was a real, was in everybody's faces. You know, you couldn't turn on the TV without them talking about the possibility of you getting AIDS and dying, and that's like a real scared that they had back in the 80s. So, you know, the whole safe sex things where they basically put a whole rubber on the whole body, you know, that's kind of time joke, you know, time period joke. But if you never live in the 80s, you will think that is funny because, you know, they still push condoms and safe sex in today. And like everything is very neutral in this, you know, there's no political jokes in this at all. So it's really for everybody to enjoy this movie. It's just fantastic. This is like Leslie Nielsen at his best. This one and Airplane, and really all the Naked Gun movies that he's in is really fantastic. And also I say probably like Mel Brooks's Dead and Loving It, top notch Leslie Nielsen. But then you get the other ones, kind of like later on in his career, like Mr. Magoo. You know, at that time period, it kind of feels like his stick is getting kind of old, you know. Maybe it's because the movie wasn't very high quality, but, you know, they're at the end, and then you have, like, Surf Ninjas when he's playing the villain. You know, it's just, he's pretty funny in it, but the movie is lacking, and basically his character is not very good. Probably because the movie ain't very good, but yeah. Nobody's seen a Leslie Nielsen parody movie. The Naked Gun is right up there with Airplane, they have to see it. And if you haven't seen the original one, check it out. It's just as good as the new one, or better. I did enjoy the new one. I said I wasn't going to talk about it. I did enjoy the new one. I thought it was really great. I think it did some things better than the original one. But overall, I would prefer the original one over the remakes / sequel. I guess Leslie Nielsen really nails this role really well. And I'll get into what I think of Liam Nielsen in the next video when I talk about the original one. But yeah, so check it out. If you've never seen The Naked Gun, the original one, it's a must-see. If you're down and out, feeling kind of blue, watch that one and you'll turn that frown upside down. That's the best joke I can come up with. Have a great day. Bye.